Hey everybody, this is Frilioth and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to build a brand new villager breeder that works in 1.13.1. Now the main difference between this one and many of the other villager breeders that are out there is that this one is switchable, so it allows you to turn it on and off, but it also only uses 2 villagers. Now how cool is that? Now before we crack on with the tutorial, there are a few things I need to point out about this villager breeder. Firstly, it won't work in Bedrock. So please don't build this if you're on console or Windows 10 because villagers detect villages or doors in a different way on Bedrock, so this doesn't work. And also, as a rule, they don't usually pick up food when it's above their feet in Bedrock, so this won't work in Bedrock or Better Together or console or anything like that. So please don't build it if you're on console. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Also, I've not tested this in 1.12, but it certainly will not work in 1.13. I've built this in 1.13.1. It won't work in 1.13 because in 1.13 the villagers have to be lower down. There was a bug in 1.13 that changed how villagers detected doors. It's been fixed in 1.13.1, so this will work in 1.13.1. It won't work in 1.13. I've not tested it in any versions prior to that. There's no reason why it won't work in 1.12, but I haven't tested it. Now before you start building this, make sure that you don't have any other valid doors within 64 blocks of this breeder. If you do, the villagers will merge together and this villager breeder will break. And that includes iron golem farms, it includes naturally spawned villagers, it includes other villager breeders. If you have another valid door or valid village within 64 blocks of this villager breeder, then it will break. Now if you've built this and it's not working, just want to go through a few reasons why it might not be working. Firstly, you need to have your game rule mobGriefing set to true. Now that's going to scare the living bejeebus out of those of you that are terrified of creepers, but villagers won't pick up food if mobGriefing is set to false. And one of the biggest questions I get asked is, my villagers won't pick up food, what have I done wrong? The reason is because either your PC or your server doesn't have mobGriefing set to true. If it's not true, they won't pick up the food, and if they can't pick up the food, they won't get in the mood, and if they're not in the mood, they won't have babies. So make sure mobGriefing is set to true. Secondly, make sure you haven't built it within 64 blocks of another valid door. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have, this won't work. Thirdly, make sure that the doors at the top of your breeder are valid. Now I'll explain how to make these doors in there valid when we're building this breeder, but if you've got another kind of villager breeder, just make sure your doors are valid. Without knowing exactly what villager breeder you're using, I can't explain whether your doors are valid or not. But doors need to have an unequal number of sky access blocks on one side than they do on the other. And I'll go into that in more detail when we're building this. But just make sure your breeder has an odd number of blocks on one side of the doors than it does on the other. And as a general rule, that should make them valid. And lastly, the other main reason why the villager breeders don't work is that the villagers haven't been fed, or they haven't been fed enough. Now, it's becoming more and more common for villagers in the breeders to be greedy. And I don't know when this started, or whether it's just a new thing, or whether it's been going on forever and I've just never noticed it before. But if you throw a couple of stacks of food into these guys, and they continually, and it looks like they continually throw it to each other, then there's a very good chance you have a greedy villager in there. And what the greedy villager does is, he's the first guy to pick up the food, and he thinks, oh, hang on a minute, I've got all the food. My friend over there doesn't have any. I'll throw him some food. So he throws the food, but then the greedy one picks it up again before the other guy has a chance to pick it up. And that cycle just continues. So although it looks like they're sharing food, they're actually not. the greedy villager is throwing food and then picking it up, and then throwing food, then picking it up, then throwing food, then picking it up, and the other guy isn't getting any. And because the other guy hasn't got any food, they'll never be in the mood. So if you see them throwing food about more than a couple of times, what you need to do is fill up the greedy villager's inventory, and you won't know which villager it is, but you'll just have to throw in there 8 stacks of food. And once you've thrown in 8 stacks, that guy will be, or the greedy one will be completely full, and then all the stacks you throw in after that will be shared between them. So if you see them continually throwing food about to start with, you've got a greedy villager, just throw in loads of food. Throw in as much food as you can. You can't overfeed them. If you throw in loads of food and they start leaving it on the top, then you know you've filled them up, which is a good thing. So they're the 4 main reasons why a villager breeder won't work. So hopefully that's cleared up quite a few of your questions. Now I'll just give you a quick look at the villager breeder before we go and start building it. As you can see, it looks great, doesn't it? And it's really small because we don't have the 3rd villager on the top and then the doors above that. It's really small. Fabulous. We've got the on-off switch at the front, and that's connected to the piston underneath using a bit of redstone dust and a repeater going into a block that's got a redstone torch on top of it. And then the torch goes into that block, which goes into that piston. I've fed them loads already. So if I turn it on, you'll see the piston extends, forcing them up within the range of the doors. And that's what's turning it on. The doors are in there. So they're now within the range of the doors. Straight away, they're in the mood. Because, as I say, they're pre-fed. Now, I've had this running overnight. And so far, I've never had a baby villager fall out and land on the sticky piston and stay there. And we still have a 100% record. Off he goes. Fabulous. Now, to get this to work with only 2 villagers, normally we'll have the 2 villagers at the bottom, then the key villager above it, and then 6 doors above that. And you only need 6 doors when you've only got 1 villager at the top. Because we've got 2 villagers that are within range of the doors, we need 9 doors above it, not the normal 6. I've actually got 10 in there for symmetry, but you only really need 9. And then we've got the basic unloading. If you want to use a different unloading station, then you don't have to use minecarts. You can drop them through a hole. You can do whatever you like with them. You can leave them in there. It's entirely up to you. What you can't do though is store the baby villagers above these guys. The minute you put any villager on the same level or above these fellas here, within a range of 32 blocks, because that's the radius of the village, then they become part of the village population and the breeder will stop working. This only works because although we might have babies at the bottom and they're inside the village, they're not counted as part of the population. Only those 2, because they're within 1 block of the doors on the y-axis, are counted as part of the population. So you could have 100 villagers in the bottom. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that. But if you've got 30 villagers at the bottom waiting to be allocated off to farms or to iron farms or to other breeders or whatever, they're fine. They'll sit in there without a problem. Your breeder will still keep working, providing those guys are fed. So don't worry about that. But if you want to transport them off, don't transport them above the level of those guys, otherwise the villager breeder is going to break. Now this villager breeder will produce a baby on average between every 5 and 8 minutes. So it's not going to be the quickest, but if you feed these guys, if you completely fill them up and then AFK here overnight, you'll have 40 villagers come out of this thing. There's no real reason to have the industrial one that's got 13 or whatever breeding pairs that spits out a villager every 8 seconds, unless you need that many villagers. Normally, if you're playing on an SMP with only a few people, or you're playing on your own PC, this is more than adequate. You'll get more babies out of it than you know what to do with. Now, I'm often asked, how many babies will you get from one stack of food? And it's a really good question. As a general rule, for every 2 stacks of food you throw them, you'll get about 5 babies, between 4 and 5 babies. So now I've finished that little Q&A. We'll go over there and we'll build it. So to build this new breeder, you're going to need an area that is 5 blocks wide by 5 blocks deep, and you're going to have to dig down a couple of blocks in the middle, so just bear that in mind when you're finding somewhere to build it. And remember, do not build this within 64 blocks of another villager breeder or other valid doors. Now, the materials you're going to need are a couple of stacks of your block of choice. We're going to be using quartz block as normal. You're going to need some stairs to decorate around the top. You're going to need a stack or so of glass. This can be any glass, and you don't even need to use glass for most of the outside of the build if you don't want to be able to see in. But you are going to need glass to go around the villages, so you are going to need a few. But you're probably best off just building the perimeter out of glass anyway. You're going to need a bit of glowstone for the top to stop mobs spawning in with your doors. You're going to need a sticky piston, a lever, a redstone torch, some dust, a fence post. Any fence post, doesn't matter. You can use netherrack fence post if you want to, but you can't use panes of glass. It has to be a fence post because your villager sits half a block proud of the top of the fence post. So it does have to be a post. You're going to need 10 doors. You're going to need a bucket of water. You're going to need 8 or so ladders to be able to get you up to the top to feed the guys when the breed is built. Now, if you want to make the unloading station at the back, the villager unloader at the back out of minecarts and minecart rails, you're going to need 7 or 8 powered rails, depending on how far you want it to go. You're going to need 1 detector rail. You're going to need a few normal rails. You're going to need a dispenser. It's got to be a dispenser, not a dropper. You're going to need a hopper. You're going to need a redstone torch, a block of redstone if you've got one. If you haven't, you'll just need another redstone torch. This is to power the rails, power the main rail at the bottom of the ramp. As I say, you can use a redstone block if you have one. If you don't, then put a redstone torch underneath the block. But I'll explain that when we get there. You're going to need a couple of chests for the minecarts to go in, and you're going to need some minecarts. You're also going to need a standard piston and a lever in order to encase the villagers in glass. Now, some of the eagle-eyed of you, and I'm sure Ron will be one of them, will notice that my GUI is a lot bigger today than it usually is. And that's because quite a few of you have so eloquently asked me to make my GUI and my hotbar a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. So I have, because I listen to you guys. That's what I do. So when you've found the area where you want to build this bad boy, and you've got your stuff out the chests, you're going to need to go to the very centre, and you need to dig down 1 block there and put a redstone torch on it. And then stick a normal block on top of that. And then you want to dig down here a couple of blocks. And then you want to pop out that block there and replace it with an upside down stair. So if you look at the torch and put a stair just there like that. And then pop out that block, and you need to put some redstone dust on that block there, and then some on the block underneath it. And because we've got a stair there, the dust will go down to power the block with the torch on it. Then you want to put a solid block above the redstone dust like that, and then stick your lever on it. And now every time you flick your lever, the torch is going to go off. Flick your lever, torch is going to go on. You can use a solid block there if you want to, and then just put a repeater down there, but this is going to save you a repeater. And now you just need to fill the floor back in again. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now you need to take your solid blocks out again and just do a perimeter, 5 by 5 perimeter, all the way around the bottom of the breeder. Now, before we put the wall in around the outside, just pop into the centre again. Take out your sticky piston. You need a sticky piston on top of this block, facing upwards. and then you need a fence post on top of the sticky piston. And obviously your villagers, your breeding period villagers are going to stand on top of that sticky piston. Obviously it's extended because the breeder is on. Perfect. Now grab your solid blocks, and in each corner you need to go up by 4 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to see in to what these guys are doing, all you need to do now is fill in the outside, the rest of these blocks, with glass blocks. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now take out your solid blocks again, and you just need to put a top, a rim around the top of this this box, like this, and then you need to put some glass in the center, like that, and your villagers are going to go into here. Be careful you don't fall in yourself, otherwise you're going to have to break things to get yourself back out again. Now what you need to do is get your villagers into that hole. Now you can use a little water elevator going up the side, you can just use normal steps. If you want to, get them up here however you want to get them up here. I'm going to spawn them in because I can. I could really do with them not being farmers as well. If you can, don't make them farmers, because farmers hoard food. They'll work, but they'll hoard food. So now you should have something that looks like that. Now we need to encase these guys in glass. We need to push this piece of glass here over the top of the villages. So to do that, just break out one of the sides, a block on one of the sides, doesn't matter which one, and then put a couple of temporary blocks next to it, like that, and then you can break out that block, and you need to put a normal piston there. Put a normal piston, not a sticky piston, because if you put a sticky piston there and force the block in, when that block gets pulled back out by the sticky piston, one of those guys is going to fall out. So make sure it's a standard piston, and grab your lever and just power it, and now that's completely encased them in glass. Don't worry, it won't hurt them. They're as happy as Larry in there. Then you can break the piston, break that, and replace it with a solid block again. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now you will find that it's pushed the adult villagers over to one side, which is not a biggie. Just press the lever so they go up to the top, and then get up to the top, and if you walk into them, it'll move them. Don't whack them or anything, so they don't like that. Just walk into them and it'll move them into the corners, which is perfect. And then you can go back down again, flick the lever, they'll go back down, and they're in exactly the right position. Now you're probably building this in survival, so grab your ladders, because you're going to have to do a bit of work on top now. So grab your ladders and stick your ladders going up both sides of the farm. You don't need them up both sides, but I like it for the symmetry. But if you've only got 4 ladders, then you just put 4 ladders going up one side. Doesn't make a lot of difference. Then grab yourself your stairs, and you need to go around the top of the breeder like this, putting some upside down stairs like this. You don't have to. This is purely decorative, but I just think it sort of brings the top of the farm into the bottom of the farm. Just makes it look nice. So now we've got something that looks like that. Now we need to get up on top and build the box that the doors are going to go in. So get up on top of here and then build a wall all the way around the outside of the farm that's 4 high. Now we need to put down some solid blocks for the doors to stand on. So we need to cover the floor with solid blocks, starting at the back. Put five blocks across the back, then another 5, and then do 2 there, leaving the gap where the villagers are going to pop their head through. 2 there, and then 2 there, and leave this gap as well, and then another 2 there like that. Now you need to take your doors out, get up on top, put your back against the back wall, and you need to put down 10 doors. We need to put 5 doors down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 here. Now, as I said earlier, you don't need 10 doors. You only need 9. But if you're really that desperate and you've only got 9 doors, you can leave the middle door out if you want to. But for symmetry, and a door doesn't cost a great deal, it's worth putting one in. So you need to do that like that. Now we need to fill the rest of this area in, all of this, with solid blocks. This serves a couple of purposes. Firstly, it stops mobs from spawning in the gaps, and secondly, it acts as the uneven number of blocks on the sides of these doors and there is on the other side, making these doors valid. This line of doors here, for example, has 1 block on this side blocking sky access, but it's got 4 blocks on this side blocking sky access. So it's an unequal number of doors because, as I mentioned in a previous video, you don't count the block that is directly above the door. So this has got 1 block on the left, it's got 4 blocks on the right, making this row of doors here valid, whereas this row of doors here will have 2 blocks on the left and 3 blocks on the right. It's uneven, therefore it's a valid door. If we didn't have these blocks here, then there'd be 2 on this side, 2 on this side. Those doors wouldn't be valid, which is why we need the extra block there. So we need to fill all of this in with solid blocks like this, and grab yourself a bit of glowstone or a sea lantern or something like that. It can even be a jack-o'-lantern now if you want to, and pop it just there, and that'll give enough light inside the doors so no mobs will spawn, and it will also give a bit of light round for those guys there. And then fill the rest in with solid blocks. And then just cover over the doors. So now you've got something that looks like that. Now, before we put the water in and start prepping the railway at the back for the villagers, we just need to get up here and pop out these blocks. You don't need them there. I put them in by mistake, and that's the gap that you need when you climb up here. This is the gap you stand in to throw them food. You throw them food on top of this block here. At the moment, they won't be able to pick it up, but when the breeder is on, they will be able to pick it up. Hello, fellas. Now we're going to pop round the back and create the unloader for the babies to be taken out of the breeder. Now, as I said, you don't really need to take them out using a minecart system. You can take them out by dropping them out of the floor or whatever. You can leave them in there if you want to, but we're going to be using the minecart system, so I'll show you how to make that. So firstly, you need to pick a corner, whichever corner you want these to come out of. So we're going to have them coming out of the back left. So our water source block is going to be here at the front right. So your water block is directly opposite where the babies are going to be pulled out of the farm. And then if you can, replace that block there with a redstone block. If you can't afford a redstone block, just pop out a couple of blocks, put a torch underneath it, and then a solid block on top of it, and that'll do the same job. You want that rail to always be powered. Then you want to put a normal rail next to it, then a block and a normal rail, then block up, and you want to put a powered rail, and then block up again, and you need to put down a detector rail. Okay, so now you've got a powered rail that's powered, 2 normal rails, powered rail, and a detector rail. You need that rail powered too. So if we pop out that block there and put a torch there, that'll power that rail. And then now you just want to put a line of rails leading off to wherever it is you want these to go to, your trading hall or your farms or iron farms or whatever. And obviously this needs to be powered, so pop that block out there. Another redstone torch here is going to power all of these. Now you want to take out your redstone torch and you want to put a redstone torch on the side of the block that's got the detector rail on it, like that. And put a block there, and then whiz around this side and put a dispenser. Now remember, this has to be a dispenser. If it's a hopper, it's just going to pop the minecarts out. It won't dispense them on the track, so it needs to be a dispenser, like that. And then going into the side of that dispenser, you want to put a hopper. And then on top of the hopper and the dispenser, you need to put down a couple of chests. So you need to crouch, and to place a double chest now, you need to crouch and point at the side of that chest. If you point at the top of the hopper while you're crouching, you're going to put down 2 single chests. If you want to put down a double chest, you crouch and look at the side of these single chests, and that makes a double chest. And now you can just grab yourself your minecarts and throw your minecarts into the chest, and they'll now make their way down into the dispenser. So now every time a minecart picks up a baby that's in there, it'll go over the top and dispense another minecart. So now you should have something that looks like that. So now all we need to do is stick some water in the bottom. So pop out those blocks there, jump in, put yourself down some water directly opposite the corner where the minecart is, and then replace your glass. And grab yourself loads of food, turn the breeder on, and then get yourself up to the top and just stand here and throw these guys all the food. So I've thrown them 12 stacks there, just in case one of them's a greedy villager. If you only throw them a couple, as I mentioned earlier, there's a very good chance one of those guys is going to hoard the food. And if he hoards it, then they won't have any babies. And then give them a few minutes. Play a little Barry White music. And we've already got a little librarian. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I've never had it yet where the baby stops on the piston. But I purposefully put one on there just to see what would happen. And if you flick the switch a couple of times, the adult villager's hitbox tends to push the little baby off. But as I said, I've never had it happen yet. So hopefully you won't have a problem with it. Now, if you really want to ramp this up and you're not bothered about the villagers being fed at the moment, any babies that are born won't get fed, which is ideal if you need farmer villagers that have got a completely empty inventory because you want to stick them in farms or in a carrot farm. You don't want them with carrots in their inventory from being fed if you want to put them in a wheat farm or in a potato farm. So that's the reason for having, or it's one of the reasons for having them encased in glass. Turn it back on again. Having them encased in glass is so that the farmers don't get fed. But if you don't mind them being fed, then get rid of the minecart. And once you start getting a few babies in the bottom, throw some food in the water stream so that the babies get fed. And then the babies will, once they've grown up into adults, they'll start breeding as well. So if you really want loads of villagers quite quickly, exponentially, then wait to get a few villagers in the bottom and then feed them. But if you do that, then any farmers that are born in there will have food in their inventory and they will be no good for putting into farmer farms. I'm sure you understand what I mean. So there you have it, everybody. A super stylish, super compact, switchable villager breeder that only uses 2 villagers. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, everybody. If you have, please don't forget to leave it a like. And if you've really loved it, don't forget to subscribe for future tutorials. This is Frilioth, and I'm out of here.